Hello, and welcome to Bronze Age Monsters, the show where we wade into the weirdest and wildest waters of the comic books of the 1970s. This season on B.A.M, we're covering the brief life of Atlas Seaboard Comics, the publishing venture of Martin Goodman that some say was a middle finger to Marvel and Stan Lee. Revenge is a dish best served in 4 colors. I'm Matt Howell.
I'm Jacob Malcolm.
Thank you for joining us this week, listeners and viewers. Glad to have you here. Glad to be here for a live. And I think without further ado, I think we should just dive into our guest and let him on.
Absolutely.
He needs to be uncaged. He needs to be unfettered. He is an old friend of the show, old friend of ours. He's a brilliant director. He is Brad Michael Elmore. Hey, Brad.
Hey, Brad.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Very good. Very good. You look beautiful.
Thank you.
Not going to lie, I'm a little jealous of your mustache game, but that's cool.
Your mustache game is strong, my friend. The one time Yeah. No, my mustache game is so bad. It's the only time when I don't know. I look like a pedophile. You look like a badass. I look bad.
Yeah. People hold their kids closer when I walk by when I have a mustache.
That's almost exactly what I said because that literally happened once. I'm used to the ladies being pretty cool, but yeah, not good.
I aged into Ned Flanders, and I'm just gonna embrace it.
Yeah. Awesome.
Oh man. So yes. So we've gained some listeners, some viewers, some folks over the years, and we haven't. I don't think talked to you since Son of Satan season, which feels like it's a long time ago.
I ain't talking about no goddamn creature commandos. Goddamn.
No. That's what it is. It is what it is.
It's fair.
Yeah. So if folks don't know you,
anytime you guys invite me,
Yeah, I guess the understanding was meant to be that you just tell us when you want to be on because you're a busy guy, you're down in LA, you're doing your thing, and we didn't want to hassle you, but apparently we need to actually end the show to get you back on or to at least, whatever. That being said, if folks don't know you, I met you through Twitter many years ago after I saw The WOLFMAN'S HAMMER, a film that you made in Oregon, and I was completely obsessed with and loved it and followed you when you used to be on social media. You were smart and got off of there. And then we've kind of become friends ever since then. And then when we announced that we were doing this podcast, the Werewolf by Night podcast, you were, I think, one of the first people besides Jacob when he said, I'll host that show with you. I think you were the first person that said, when am I going to be on? Yeah. And so you were one of our first guests, I think, after Taboo from the Black Eyed Peas.
I forgot all about that.
When I remember that happens, I just kind of laugh, but that's funny. But yeah, so you've been a supporter of the show from the get-go, and we appreciate you. And I'm glad to have you back on. And I was wondering if you could share what your experience is with Atlas Seaboard Comics at all, if you have any memory of it, if you read any of this stuff when you were a kid, and if you've been following along at all this season, what your thoughts are in general.
I don't really have much experience with Atlas, actually. It's like a huge blind spot, most of their stuff. And you guys have pretty much covered the ground pretty well. I can talk about this comic because but the rest of it, it's just an interesting failure, I guess, is the best way to put it,
Yeah.
I think a lot of creators jumped on and made a lot of derivatives. They didn't quite. It's almost like this proto-image thing, right? But the sales weren't at that crazy boom level to transfer over from one to another,
No.
So it just kind of, they obviously gathered together quite a pool of people, but yeah, I don't have too much to say. I wish I had more to say. I think that's the biggest problem with Atlas Comics. It's like, man, I wish there was more to say. Like they don't have like a Max. They don't have like a, what the fuck is this? Right?
Yeah, but as far as
the thing, I guess they did publish some licensed stuff under a different imprint, or am I crazy? Was that a magazine or something? I don't know. Like somebody got the Conan rights about this time.
That would not be this.
Ads in the books, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's this.
Word.
So just real quick, Jason Feinstein want to know, Brad, was that you that wanted to talk about the Supernaturals? the
yes,
90s.
And
yes.
I have a half of an edited documentary on it that I've been trying to make. And there was an interview that I was supposed to get with somebody involved with that they just kept jumping out of it. And that was going to be the capstone. And at some point I just kind of threw up my hands. It's like, well, if I can't get them, then,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that image thing that you said. I never really thought of that before. It is kind of a proto image. And I don't know if Jacob, if I said this to you when we were talking about them on our first episode with Grim Ghost, but like, it's almost like, I think we did probably come to this. Like, it's almost like when Bernie Sanders would be in the primaries and saying like, people need, if you work, 2 people working full time, you should be able to afford their rent and groceries. People, blah, blah, blah. And everyone's like, oh my God, he's insane. And then like people but the middle kind of drifts over like, well, some of that's good. Like, it feels like they were like just this sacrificial lamb that had to go out there and be like, people should get their art back. People should get paid a decent rate for their pages.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, you know. I mean, that is, I mean, especially all the interviews that we have been pulling from the comic book artist issue is that, yeah, a lot of people are just like, yeah, well, it was all kind of shit, but, you know, it made page rates go up. People, the big 2 had to pay more after this. They just did.
Yeah.
Like, and that's a huge deal.
Yeah, and it has its. It's not like when you get to the indie boom and people are doing really out there things. It's like the first line of Image comics. They seem to be derivatives of what's already kind of on the stands. You know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I don't mean derivatives in a bad way, but it's like here's these types of adventure comics, superhero comics, you know, whatnot.
Yeah.
Whereas it's like, hey, kids, you like X Factor? Here's Youngblood, you know, which is what Image kind of had, you know, right?
Yeah. Grace, she's a friend of ours. It's a Monster Kid. She says, Brad, publish it. I just picked up the Supernaturals. It's pretty cool.
I will. Just because you said that. Now I know there's at least 3 people who want to see it. So
Yep. That's enough.
Yeah. I'll finish it up and hand it over to you guys. Maybe you can put it up on your channel. It won't need that much more work. It kind of doesn't matter if I don't get the guy I wanted to talk to about it to talk about it. Otherwise it's just me going, isn't this kind of sick? How's this? This is pretty cool.
Well, isn't that that's our whole show, Brad?
Sweet.
That's our show.
Right, but it's you guys doing it, not just me going. Imagine the Chris Farley show with no guests.
Okay, all right. Fair point.
Now I like it.
Yeah, because I wanted to talk about how it was it is a dry run at something that ends up saving Marvel. It is the them allowing somebody else to publish their books, and that's what leads to Marvel Knights. But the first run of it is Chaos Publishing getting a hand at those characters, being like, "Hey, we'll give you a budget, and if you give us that money, we'll publish your books at our quality, the way we do it." And it's also important for me because it's kind of this moment. It clicked over for me just seeing the ad for it and Wizard, this little preview for it, and seeing the old Ghost Rider design and being like, you know what, my uncle was right. Old Ghost Rider is cooler. The stunt leathers are so cool. It was like pre-retro art, you know, in that preview. And so it was important to me in that weird way. And I just liked it. I just liked it as a kid. It came with cutout Halloween masks. It was done as a high grade production. And then that is a part of their whole thing. Even Joe Quesada has talked openly about how actually it was Chaos Comics who kind of did it first, did what we did with Marvel Knights first. And that's all I wanted to say on that doc. And that's about what I have with like a bunch of, isn't this pretty sick? And that's kind of funny. And who remembers this person? And then it was going to be a little section, you know, of an interview that I think would have been really cool. But, you know, it just didn't pan out. Nobody's good.
No,
so there
I
you go.
it.
That's kind of it, you know.
I'm always interested to hear anything about the Marvel, like how bad Marvel was when that bankruptcy era, the end of the last century. Like, you know, I'm always interested in the behind the scenes stuff. Like whenever I hear a news story, I'm just like, damn, it was even worse than we all realized at the time.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it's all Joe Quesada. We have, and now it's like I kind of want to go back in time and assassinate Joe Quesada because because he saves Marvel for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you can hate the guy, you can love the guy, but it's sort of his. He brings in the guys that usher in the different world of. You get these like eras of comics, and the aughts is sort of like when comics start to be written more like prestige TV shows, cleaner scripts, less caption boxes. Bendis hits pretty hard, and it's all Quesada bringing those guys in from indie, bringing those guys in from movies, from screenplays, bringing Christopher Priest back. And it's those titles, especially bringing Kevin Smith in, flood Marvel with enough money to keep them going, and them encircling Hollywood like the Quesada and Palmiotti were doing, also kind of revs up the whole Marvel machine of their movies with Avi Arad. And so you can make a case for, we have Avengers movies into the bazillionth because of Joe Quesada.
Yep.
And that's why he needs to be stopped.
Yep.
Well, I'm working on that time machine right now. Yep.
I'm making mine out of beer
Baby
cans.
Hitler, Joe Quesada.
Yeah.
In that order.
I'm going to swing it back to Atlas Seaboard because I did want to mention before I forget that somebody on our Discord, if you aren't on our Discord, please join our Discord. There's going to be notes in the show notes description here if you can join us. It's a nice community of people that are fun, and we talk about just comics, music, whatever, movies. But someone named Stealth Mode Sylvie pointed out, and this has been bugging me since she said it. She said, I think what annoys me most about the Phoenix comics, based on Jacob and Matt's overview at least, is why Jeff Roven was trying to go for making Ed into a Christ analog when there's a much more obvious mythological / religious analog. Ed's a guy who steals fire from the gods and is now being punished by these malevolent god figures. If you're making mythological comparisons, Prometheus is right there. And I read that, I was like, oh my God, like as an armchair, like world mythology, like super geek from childhood, I felt like I should hang up my podcasting mic. Like I was just like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah, when I saw that too, I was like, ooh, I feel bad too. Like, we definitely should have connected that. But yeah.
I'm pretty sure Jesus invented fire, guys. Come on.
It's true.
Right.
Jesus first
didn't invent fire. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to teach that in school soon too.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
So before we dive in, so if you haven't figured out from the title of this video, we're talking about Howard Chaykin's The Scorpion, largely considered one of the better things that came out of the Atlas Seaboard line. Brad, what made you pick this? I think you had carte blanche of the entire line.
I had, there was a few that had gone first.
Was there? Okay.
Let's not mislead our audience now. I like Chaykin. It was as simple as that. I didn't know anything about the character or anything. The cover looked cool, and I just genuinely like that guy's artwork a lot. Yeah, that was it. As simple as that.
There you go.
I mean, I probably would have picked it anyway, just because it's called the Scorpion, and I just think that's a sick ass word, Scorpion.
See, I had wondered if you had actually seen part of this before, because as I was reading this, I was like, well, fuck, it's like Brad is in a comic. I'm just like, this fits you so well. I was just like, he must have known this, but no.
I will say it has a lot of things I like, hotshot pilots, shooting people, corporate espionage, and all this stuff, beautiful comic book art, and that's why it's so shocking that it was one of the most boring things I've ever read. It's crazy. I was blown away by I think this comic looks beautiful, but it about put me to sleep. And it's like 3 issues, 2 with Chaykin, 1 with Jobber McGee guys. I can't remember their names. No insult to them. I'm sure they have great.
Gabe Levy and not Johnny Craig, Jim Craig.
What I mean by Jobber McGee in this instance is it's clearly not their book. They're just finished. Yeah. Yeah.
That between issues 2 and 3, Martin Goodman had a fit, and somebody got fired, and why isn't this Spider-Man? Good question.
Well, I mean, it takes a hell of a turn It's not just like now it's a superhero comic. It's also Michael Mann's The Keep.
Yeah, right.
They're resurrecting the golem. Like what the fuck?
To fight Nazis? Yeah, I mean that's obviously
it's
where it should have gone.
Left turn,
Yeah. Okay. Are we ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So I was shocked to realize that we're still in the first wave of Atlas Seaboard comics.
It's never going to end, Matt. We're going to be here forever.
Cornucopia of titles. This is still rolling out. This is the first wave. So this was published according to GCD on November 26th of 1974. Cover dated February 1975. It was bi-monthly. As Brad said, it ran for 3 issues. And the cover here is Howard Chaykin doing pencils and inks. And man, if you're just listening, these all 3 issues are available on archive.org. As Brad said, the art is freaking gorgeous. With a black cover with a bold yellow spotlight. And in the middle ground, we have our hero, the Scorpion, and he is a swashbuckling 30s adventurer. He's got 2 guns on his hip belts, and he's got a scarf, whipping off in the wind. There's a damsel in distress. Drink for that, Jacob.
All right, drink for that.
And she is tied to the rotor of an old airplane. And in the foreground, we just have 2 guns coming in, cast in red, 2 pistols trained on our hero. And goddamn, one of the most arresting, this is like we talked earlier about how the first ones didn't have a bunch of first issue collector's item, meet the Scorpion, he's got a damsel, like all that shit plastered all over him. They just let the art talk. And this is one of those, the best of them, in my opinion.
Oh my God, it's so good. Yeah, this and The Grim Ghost, I think, are some of the more striking. And Iron Jaw, I think those 3, as far as covers go, are the most striking. Like if you were a kid, you'd pick these up in a heartbeat. It just looks so good. And Chaykin's art is amazing, as always.
Incredible.
Honestly.
Yeah. So are the colors. Like it looks very Topian. I know it's like big influence that he likes to say is because he's Gil Kane, but it looks like those Toth Black Canary comics. It's gorgeous. It's just
I love those.
The archive version has the preserved newsprint, so I don't have to just grate my teeth in some fucked up digital recolor that I can't stand.
Yeah.
No, these have never been digitally recolored.
Yep.
And all at the service of one of the most boring comics I have ever read. It's crazy. I could not believe it. I was like, man, I'm not going to bum these guys out, but I have to be honest. I don't give the people maybe what they want, but I have to give them what they need,
Okay.
We don't bring you on here to sweet talk.
No. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. You want to jump in?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know. I really love this page. This is something I always love of the man out of time, who is just kind of immortal, who changes his identity. It reminded me of that one Twilight Zone that I really love, where they see the guy and he was in the Civil War, and these photos, this photo album beginning. Yeah, it reminded me a lot of that. So yeah, on this first page, we're seeing 4 photos from a photo album. The opening narration says, "Ours is a story about a man of certain peculiar talents, not the least of which is an unusual longevity. A man who in recent years has surfaced." And it shows him as a balloonist for the Union Army, a envoy to President Roosevelt, a gringo mercenary flying for Villa against Pershing. Fucking love it. And also Michael Christie, Lafayette Escadrille, 1917 to 1918. So he is a World War I pilot as well. So and then it says, after the war, Michael Christie vanished without a trace until some 20 years later, he again materialized as a mercenary, providing justice for the oppressed for a price. For he calls himself Morrow Frost, but he is better known as, and then we'll get to the splash page. But
I have immediate problems.
Okay. All right. Well, let's
hear him. I like this opening page.
I love it.
Well, that's all good and fine until you get to the part where he's somehow working for the oppressed, but at a price.
Yeah.
It's like, how the fuck does that work? How do you parse that one out? Like, you're pretty oppressed, but you can't afford me. Is a weird.
Yeah.
Just say he's a mercenary.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll do you one better. if they found a way to negotiate that at all, I'd be like, all right, it's a little shaky, but I see what they're up to. He works for an airline mogul in one issue, and then in the next issue, just some rich lady. It's like, what's going on now? Like, that is not. There's no oppression going on.
He flew Epstein's plane for a while.
Yeah, these isn't like, this isn't like a labor union on strike who pull their money to hire him to teach their boss a lesson. No, it's like the boss hires him to take out the competition who's muscling in on his shit. It's like, he's just a gangster.
It's not a dubious battle.
Yeah, but also you could say, like, who knows how long he's really been around. So, he did all that nice charitable stuff, and now maybe he's 1,000 years old and he's super jaded now.
He's just in it for the money now.
He's just in it for the money and for his lovely lady. So who knows? I love the immortal characters though. How do you not love that?
Cool.
So do I. I think this is a neat concept. The first thing I thought of when I read this opening page was, it's like an adventure, 30s adventure version of like Count de Saint Germain, right? You guys are reading about that historical figure who, in the 18th century went to all these social events and whatever, and he was like, you got to have the Count at this party. He's so fun. And he would sit there at your thing, drink your $1,000 wine and eat your weird boiled eels, and he'd be like, Socrates once said to me, Socrates? Well, yes, I knew Socrates. And like everyone thought he was immortal and he was an alchemist and he was just a complete swindler, but fascinating character. But the first thing I thought of was like, this has to be kind of a weird nod to like, what if we made the Count de Saint Germain like an adventurer? Which is kind of fun. And I had to look up Moral Frost because like that has to mean something, right? That's too weird. So I looked it up and it said Moral Frost likely refers to the Russian equivalent of Santa Claus, known as Dead Moroz or Grandfather Frost. He's a figure from Slavic folklore who brings gifts to children similar to Santa Claus in the West, if they can afford him.
What's with this? You got to afford the guy if you're already kind of in a fuck position thing that's going on here.
No, that's what you're saying. Only moguls and the very rich can afford him.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Should we move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay, so we get a beautiful double-page spread here, and we see our hero in action again, like his gun's blazing, and he's got his gal Friday next to him with her gun out, so she's not helpless, which I love that they make a point of not making her worthless in this whole thing. And you see these like repeated, like, I don't know if they're suns or spotlights, but you see this plane coming along and it explodes. And on the right side, people are starting to panic because this plane's coming down over New York City. And, like, hey, buddy, what's the ruckus? I love that he has like all the old timey 30s talk down. He's like, what are you, blind, Mac? Look up in the sky as this plane's coming down. And like, well, everybody's getting out of here. We don't want to be here when this plane lands. And then, is it Rose Sweet? Is that her name? His gal Friday?
Is it Ruby?
Like that? Ruby Sweet. Thank you. Says, hey, it looks like it might land near the house. He's like, we better get over there fast. It's been hard enough getting insurance as it is. So they're scattering off to go see where this plane lands and what's going on. So an exciting incident. Everything kicks off. And we have some ruckus. What's the ruckus? I'm already in. I love it.
Yeah, what a beautiful opening spread. Like, I don't know. Yeah, just Chaykin. And Chaykin hasn't been around for all that long. Because I can talk if you're watching this, if you've listened to us, listen to Brad, you most likely know who Howard Chaykin is. But just in case, he's been around for just a few years at this point. GCD lists his first credit as a 4-page story in Young Love 97. That was from July of 72. I really want to read it. It's called Recipe for Romance with an exclamation point. Yeah. So, he mostly worked for DC during this period, but he worked together with Neil Adams on the first Killraven story. That was an Amazing Adventures 18 from 73. The earliest stuff I'm familiar with was Iron Wolf over at DC in the Weird Worlds title. But then, later on after this, he would take the idea of the Scorpion over to Marvel and do Dominic Fortune, which I think a lot of people.
To death there,
Yeah.
I've never read Dominic Fortune.
I haven't either.
I know him on sight. I know it's Howard Chaykin. Like I know that, but I've never actually read any Dominic Fortune.
Yeah, and then after that, he did Cody Starbuck and Star Reach, and which I'm more familiar. Yeah, I haven't read any Dominic Fortune either, strangely enough, but I really liked Cody Starbuck and Star Reach, and of course American Flag. Now, Brad, I think you were a fan of American Flag, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Which may not have like the best maybe writing maybe, but like the formal trickery going on in it is something that I think would be, really important and influential. Like is the way he uses TV screens and stuff as panels and negative space and all that stuff that goes on in there. It kind of has that. It's like very Dark Knight Returns before the Dark Knight Returns. It's got this little bit of almost like a Judge Dredd, Paul Verhoeven flavor to it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's an enjoyable thing. I haven't read it in like quite some time, but I do like it. Yeah.
Yeah, the last thing that I mean, he's still working, today, but the last thing that I read of his was a book he did, I don't know, maybe 12, 13 years ago. It was called Satellite Sam. He did it with Matt Fraction, which, I love that book. Yeah, so if you haven't read it, it's about this 50s TV star who ends up dead in a scandal, and his son kind of is tracing everything that happens. It's through this like television studio and in the 50s, and it's fucking awesome. It kind of dropped off the radar. It was very like critically acclaimed, but then just kind of disappeared. I'm shocked it doesn't make more like best of lists. So
it's pretty cool. And that was back when Fraction still had a Twitter, and he had a whole section of his sort of Twitter that was things my Howard Chaykin says, where he would just quote, because Chaykin's a cantankerous figure. Mm-hmm. Anybody just want to look up interviews with him, be my guest. He has Harlan Ellison. Is that his name, or is it Harlan Ellis? Harlan Ellison. He has a sort of like that vibe, He's got a mouth on him. It's pretty funny. And that was before Matt Fraction started to just only write comics that sound like he's arguing with the internet. So that was like his heyday,
Yep, absolutely. So
shots fired, Matt.
Yeah. So they're so they're talking about an interview. There's a great interview with Chaykin in the CBA issue that we have been referencing this whole time, because it's basically the Bible of the history of Atlas Seaboard. And there's a great interview with him in there. And he is cantankerous. He's talking, and and it was great. I think it was Jeff Rovin, who was the editor at this point. Someone was saying, maybe it was Toth too, who was also interviewed, was saying that Chaykin was one of the first guys who would stand in front of the Marvel offices and would be like, "Hey, go across the street. They pay more." He was like their kind of firebrand in the beginning, which of course, that all fell apart as issue 2. We'll talk about that at the end. We talk about the other issues. But he's a very cantankerous guy, and had a lot of interesting things to say. You read that, Matt, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he reminds me of like William Friedkin.
Absolutely.
He just kind of says it as he sees it. It's really funny.
Yeah. Matt, are you there?
I can see him.
Matt, can we hear you?
Sorry, was I muted?
There you are. Yes, you were muted. Okay, cool.
Weird.
All right, you're back. Yeah. So so you read that article, right?
Me?
Yes, me. Yes, I did.
Matt,
at the start of the season. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, it's really entertaining. He tells a lot of great stories. But basically, I loved his last thought on it, which was basically Chaykin's final thought on Atlas Comics. He was like, I just walked away. I thought the people involved were shitheels, and I'd rather deal with shitheels that I know. Which I was like, yep, that's Chaykin. Yep. All right. So I loved it. So you wanna move on?
Yeah. Basically,
right.
well, hold on.
Sorry.
I just want to say that when you say cantankerous describing any creator, I immediately just want to check their stuff out, because that just means they have personality to me. It just means they're interesting, and they are not afraid to ruffle some feathers. So I was into it. The one thing I wanted to mention is I did like the idea of like the playing card on that first page, and then like here the Death Gemini commission that he's like, this kind of serialized, and he has this whole like Rolodex full of these cases or something like that. I love that kind of idea like that, like the Shadow or something like that. So it works for me, even if it's not the most exciting story in the world.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so yeah, next page. We are... Yeah, so the plane hits hard. It is destroying like several floors of this tenement building. And I like it. We get cool snippets of conversation, kind of like how we did in the beginning, in the other page, where it's like, "Where's that ambulance? That wall's gonna go!" So lots of activity going on the street. And then I like Morrow's just like, "Oh yeah, both pilots wearing chutes, but they're dead at the controls." And he's like, "Strange." And then we meet our mogul, our tycoon, who says, "I'll say it's
charity
strange."
case.
Yep, our charity case. He's gonna be the bigger man and help him. He's like, "Are you the guy they call?" Morrow's like, "The Scorpion. You are?" He's like, "Roger Boyle, Empire State Airways. That's my company. And this is the 4th plane I've lost in a month." Brad, he lost 4 planes.
He's an oppressed man.
He's an oppressed man.
He's an oppressed mogul,
That's 2% of his fleet, Brad.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 2%. Let's not get crazy. It's probably like 1.2%, but still. Yeah, and so he goes on to say, I'm losing
Real Shave of Guevara
clients.
here.
Yeah, he is basically. But he's losing clients left and right. His pilots are afraid to make milk runs. And the cops won't help him. And he's like, "Okay, can you handle it?" Morrow's like, "Well, the conditions of my contract." He's like, "Well, if you mean the dough, I can cover it." And so, he says, "Fine, Miss Bishop here. We'll go over the details with you." And then, we're re-met again. He's like, "I'll make the check out to Frost Morrow." Like he says, send it very specific address, send it to 445 West 44th Street. Did you look this up, Matt?
I did not.
Yeah, it's a pretty kick-ass little, place in some kind of co-op. So yeah, okay. I thought I was thinking it might have been like Marvel offices or some kind of joke, but no, it was just a really cool place.
Yeah.
Does he live there? Is that where the check's going? Or is that his office? I can't remember. Do they establish that at all? It's really weird for like a jet-setting mercenary to be like, "And I live right here." Like,
yeah, that's true.
Well, he has like
He
has like a butler named Fritz we meet, and like Ruby, like they'll live in that. I think it's his like place.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's one of his places.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So for my headcanon, Brad, he obviously smelled money on this guy and was like, "Well, I have a fee, but maybe if it's a missing puppy from a poor immigrant family, he'd be like, I'll take the case for pro bono, obviously."
Mm-hmm. I'll put that dog down for you.
Brad's not buying it.
I just have to say, I know Sikowski did his work. I know that his best work was behind him by the time he went to Atlas. But goddamn, what was so nice just seeing some real fucking art in these books. Like, we've had a lot of Sikowski this season, and just looking at this what we're displaying right here, it's like, oh my god, it's gorgeous.
It is. Every goddamn page of this book is just phenomenal. Like, this is. I mean, very well up there, if not the top art wise that we've dealt with this whole season. And we've dealt with a lot of Sikowski. You're right, Matt. Yikes. But no, just having a young gun, a young upstart at the beginning of his career, just doing kick-ass stuff is it's a wonder.
And I love this note at the end here, Jacob. Do you think this is like a Thin Man kind of thing, or is like, how about Rubens for a nightcap? And Rubens like, but of course, like you get this sense of like they love the nightlife, they love to boogie.
Mm-hmm. They do, they do. Yeah, no, I liked that. I liked the kind of when we got it, the little repartee between Ruby and Morrow. But great page.
I kind of just got the sense from like what he was laying out as a relationship. Like if Chaykin had free hand, he got to do what he wanted to. If this had gone on for a year or something, or 6, 12 issues, I think we would have got a better sense of their relationship and more of that kind of like their quiet, their moments between cases, and just kind of built that out, because I think that this is like a love letter to 30s pulp and 30s, like screwball, comedy, romance, stuff like that. And he was just kind of starting to lay the seeds for that, just kind of some fun stuff. Like he's a hard-boiled whatever, but then when they have between cases, you'd see little moments of them just kind of being sweet to each other without being outright lovers or, whatever, committed relationship. But I don't know. Moving on.
Hey, wait.
Let's do it.
Chaykin's, we got a little comment. Chaykin's heroes always seem like they look like the same guy. Like, yeah, they kind of do.
Yeah, true.
It's sort of a lot of comic guys. Like Ditko's guys all look like shoebox-headed freaks,
They do. They do.
Bug-eyed and
I also love Jason Feinstein says, and I love that he makes them all Jewish too.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is great.
Okay, so we move on. We cut away.
Well, if you love that he makes them all Jewish, he made this character gets deep into the Talmud, into the Kabbalah.
Issue 3,
the hardest left turn.
Wait till issue 3.
Yeah.
Someone didn't get Chaykin's notes or didn't understand what he was doing by issue 3. So the next page, we cut away to a private lake, and this plane lands, and the guys that were blowing up the plane from the beginning meet their employer. And the employer says, "Hey man, I heard on the radio you did a good job." He's like, we were magnificent, And he's like, and they explain that the way they did this was they have a sonics gun that trained sound waves onto that plane and killed the pilots and then blew the engine up and made it crash. So we've got some kind of super sci-fi. This stuff exists now, right? But in 1938, obviously this was hardcore sci-fi. And they explain that the guy that made the weapon for them, they pushed him out a window. So these guys are unscrupulous bastards. And the rich guy's like, all right, the less I know about this, the better. And their employer is a guy named Garo Kalajian. And I looked that up. That Kalajian is an Armenian name.
Okay.
And he explains, hey, there's more work to be done tomorrow. And they trudge off to go talk about their plans. So we now have the main
so
players.
The bad guy's name is Armenian?
Yes.
No Armenian would be involved in any shady business dealings.
Yeah.
I can just tell you. That is, living in Glendale, I can just confirm 100%. That's ridiculous. I'd sooner believe a man was bit by a radioactive spider.
Yeah.
You made me spit beer.
But, what's really interesting is the plot of this comic is weirdly, it's like a Gem and the Holograms plot. It just because it's like this, like the way it's kind of structured and what they're dealing with, and it's like, oh, the plane's gonna crash, but no, we've got this gun, and it's sort of weird that it takes out the pilot and the engine, but one after the other, one before the other. And it's like either one of those would have done the same job. If you kill the pilot, the plane will crash. If you destroy the engine, the plane will crash.
Yeah.
Most likely. It's just kind of weird to be like, let's explode this guy's bowels. Like, because what if you, just like leaving a little bit too, it's just weird.
I think killing the pilots was just for fun. That was just a freebie.
Yes.
Well, yeah. I mean, I buy that. These guys just enjoy taking people out,
God, now all I can think, Brad, is that if they made this into like an animated episode, that there would have to be little music videos in between each of the scenes. Yeah, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because like the Gem and the Holograms is always like some impresario has like some corporate plot to stop something, and then a bunch of wackadoo shit happens, and it all moves like weirdly fast. And what's his name? Eric Raymond, the bad guy who's like ruining his life trying to stop Gem and the Holograms, even though he's making plenty of money with the Misfits. They just gotta stop Gem.
Yeah,
he's one of my favorite characters in all fictional history. Just this guy he's just got such a bone to pick with Gem and the Holograms for one tiny slight, and he keeps ruining himself over and over again. He keeps having to start from scratch, build his empire back up, and then tank it all over again to stop this mall pop band. It is fantastic. He's great.
But he has the Misfits, and their songs are better.
They are better.
He reminds me so much. I'm going to go on record as saying this. This is kind of gossipy, but Eric Raymond from Gem and the Holograms reminds me so much of Jason Blum. Like, they are so similar. Like, the way they look, the way they speak. Now, I'm not saying that Jason Blum is some evil man who would go out of his way to tank Gem and the Holograms, but he did produce that movie, Gem and the Holograms, that did tank. So,
yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there,
There are connections.
Yeah.
Brad, it's why we have you on, is for your Hollywood hot takes.
Yeah.
You want to hear a funny Jason Blum story? The funniest one I got.
Let's go. Let's hear it.
Lay it on me. Oh, did he freeze?
Oh no.
He's thinking really hard.
He's thinking really. No. This is censorship. Something's happened.
This is bullshit.
Am I back?
You're back. Okay, you're back.
Okay. So he was very nice to me. He was very polite the first time. But I had a movie that I was doing with him, or that had sort of picked up, Boogeyman Pop, and I hadn't met him yet. I'd gone through and shot the rest of it with their funds, and I sit down to finally meet the man. And you talk a lot of stuff in those meetings and different things to develop or whatnot. It's kind of it was nice of him to take his time. He's very serious. You can tell he's good at his job, but he's also completely insane. And he's like, well, how did this project come about? I'm like, well, I was developing it with this company called Umbra, and it just kind of fell through with them, and so I decided to shoot it myself. He's like, Umbra? Who the fuck is that? And he's like almost kind of mad about it. And I'm looking behind him, and I'm like, oh, it's like Jaume Colette Serra's company with Juan Sola. And he's like, huh? Who the fuck are they? And behind him, in his office, is the biggest poster I've ever seen in my life of a movie called Ouija that was made by Jaume Colette Serra and the company Umbra that they did together. I am not making this up. It was just funny. I'm sitting there like, this is a bit, right? It's
right.
Like he's sitting
looking
on his
around,
couch, and behind him is, like, it wasn't like a movie poster. It was like those bus ads.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was like one of those taking up his fucking wall behind him, and he's like sitting in front of it, and I'm looking at it and looking at him, and he's looking to one of the execs there, going like, who are they again? And then the exec just politely goes, oh, we made Ouija with them. And he's like, oh yeah, right, yeah, okay. It was the funniest thing. Now, if the poster wasn't there, that wouldn't be funny. The guy's got a lot of business he does, so I get
right.
it, But the fact that he was
Uh-oh.
Hey, Jackson.
Yep, Jackson's here.
Glad he could join us.
Yeah, we got Jackson, Jason, Mark. We got a lot of our friends here tonight.
Brad just experienced some connectivity issues.
Is that what StreamYard said?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, yeah, what do you think?
Let's press on.
Yeah, let's press on. Okay, so now we have cut to an airfield where Morrow tells Boyle, like your money is well spent. The price is steep, but the Scorpion delivers. And then they go. He also reminds, Miss Bishop that her job is to gather intel at dockside bars. So I was like, come on. But I like that, yeah. And she seems, she's not happy about it, but she's game. She says, yeah, pick up dockside bars, so to speak. And then he's like, okay, you too, yeah, have a good flight. And then he's out. So, okay, by the time that you get down to that panel and I'm seeing the plane in the middle, I really kind of stepped back and looked at the whole page. And this page is so brilliant. And it's brilliant in a way that I really can't understand because, every single panel is a different size. It's all layered and like tiled on top of each other. There's so much strange depth. And the depth makes all the sense when you see the plane right in the middle. And it's like everything is happening below. It's so fucking amazing.
This page blew my mind. Like,
I know.
I've always been a Chaykin fan, but like the angles here, the layouts, like throughout this entire thing is so just consistently like, it was like, this is the opposite of like the Ditko, like the Destructor, where it's just like three by three pages, just grids, whatever, like sometimes, most time, where it's easy to make these things to display. I had a really hard time, like, how am I even going to show this? Because like his use of panels and interconnecting and layering things is so complex and fascinating. Like you said, that plane, we're up 3,000, whatever feet up above that plane looking down at the city. And it's just layers upon layers of stuff. And it's so nuanced and gorgeous.
Yeah, I just never, rarely seen this kind of sophistication in a layout. Just unfucking real. Like, yeah, I couldn't believe it. And so so now they're up. It says, over a nighttime Manhattan Island, and then it goes, and then so someone comes up from behind, says, "Oh, there's a blip coming up too." I love it. He says it's coming up too fast for friendship. I was just like, that's a hell of a hard-boiled term. I was like, God damn, I love that. He's go on.
Look at that view though, Jacob.
Yeah.
It's like we're inside the instrument panel and there's just that red light from the instruments playing on his face. It's like, how do you even think of displaying this scene in that way?
It took me a minute to figure that out. I think it was on my second read through, and I was just like, so is it crosshairs? And then I'm like, no, that's him. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. How fucking awesome is that? I just couldn't believe it. And then, on that last panel, we see it says the only sound is that at the trimotor as the Scorpion, his silent engine opened full throttle, goes into a power dive. That's just like, I would love, this is one of those, I just kill for this page of original art.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, any page from this, but yeah, it's insane. And he does so many inventive things in here where it's so playful, and he clearly loves the medium. Like this is not someone plugging holes, right? He's not making widgets here. He loves the comics medium and absolutely relishes in what it can do. There's like multiple instances of Brad Elmore, so like adding them to the stage. Like, is this the Brad? Is he cloning himself? Nope, that one's gone too. Okay.
Hey, there you go.
Right, we have an audience here. We're moving on.
Okay.
So it says, so he swoops up and it says the Scorpion strikes. And again, it was so hard to make these pages display for like the slideshow like this because of the way he lays these out. But I love this. So he goes up and then he dive bombs down. Like, who is this guy? Hit him with the gun. He's like, I'm no dogfighter. And slowly, effortlessly, like a matador. And so he just dives down, maneuvers, and then swoops back up. You see him big shitting grin with his pilot's goggles on, and then the coup de grace. And so, I didn't even make any panels of this page, separate panels, because you can't even really break it up, right? And he blows that plane up, says that takes care of the immediate problem. Now I've got to find out who hired these clowns and why.
Yeah, geez, again, I mean, we're just going to be repeating ourselves on a lot of these pages because, the layouts is inventive as you can get. Isn't it? You have to notice that. I did too as I was reading this because I'm thinking like, geez, how's Matt going to cut these up? And there is no good way of doing it. And I think that's so cool, right? Like, I know. So fucking cool.
Yeah, we don't want our comics to be 3x3 pages. No. Like that's, doesn't mean you can't do great stuff with that. There's Brad. I'm gonna throw him in.
Throw him on,
y'all. Oh my God!
All right, you're back. Woohoo!
Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. It just kind of kicked me out.
That's okay. You just missed a dogfight where he killed the scumbag pilots.
Gotcha.
Most exciting part of the issue.
Yep.
Actually,
you missed it.
So the Gollum hasn't shown up yet.
Yeah, we've just been giving Chaykin's layouts hand jobs basically the entire time.
His layouts, his layouts are they're just incredible. They always were, I guess. And so okay, next page. Yeah, so we reconnect with Ruby Bishop, who she says she's on the steamy west side. A crime is about to be committed, but then she just kicks the shit out of this guy for a couple panels, which I just thought was great. The action here with her is so great, so cool and fluid. And then, she's got gorgeous. The gun. Oh, my God, right? And then she's like, up with him, buddy. Now, what's your game? And of course, he's like, oh, honestly, I thought you was someone else. But then, someone comes down, knocks the gun out. And, so it takes 3 guys to take her down, though, because she's such a badass.
That's my note.
Yeah, it is. Just like, she would have had no problem with 2. You need 3. And then, at the bottom, she's like, all 3 of you just to take me? That's awfully heroic. They're like, stew it, lady. Tell us what you heard eavesdropping back at Duffy's and who you was in such a hurry to spill it to. So, she's been getting intel.
Our friend Glenn wants to know, Brad, are you sitting on the doorsteps of some office building or what?
I'm on the doorsteps of my apartment so I can
Yeah.
chain smoke and enjoy myself and not bother my wife. So
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this page, I feel like, honestly, like the first panel, any given panel, take any panel, any artist would be happy to have just to be able to do this one of these in a page, you know what I mean, or an issue, and he just constantly raises the game, like, and that this fight sequence, like you were saying, this fluid thing with this negative space and no background is gorgeous. And this last panel, I would be happy if I could just draw just that one thing and say, there, I'm done drawing stuff now.
Yeah, just the depth of it is just, yeah, it's just incredible. I don't know. Yeah, this art continuously blew me away every page.
Coloring too, real smart
Yes.
coloring choices that make it very much a comic book too. Like, just because it's people in buildings, it's not just going for
Gray.
some sort of sobering color palette. It's like it's very good. Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah. It's got that same thing like that the Dick Tracy movie was trying to do, right? It just kind of brings that hyper whatever weirdness of comics language color palettes art into the world. Because the art's is really grounded, right? His style is really grounded, but the color choices are very vibrant and kind of surreal at times in the palettes he chooses for layouts. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so yeah, she's got jumped here, and then out of the dark, from the alley's shadowy depth, a gloved hand emerges, clutching a pistol of curious design. Then, poof, poof, poof. So, I don't know. I'm a fan of the shadow. I wouldn't mind if these dudes had their brains sprayed all over the alleyway walls, but I get it, I guess. They're rendered unconscious. And, one dude's like, what the hell? And he runs out, and I love this panel on the bottom left here of the Scorpion just running up out of the shadows and just uppercutting this dude. Just the form and the line and the dynamics of it's gorgeous. And then on the right side of this, again, the layering that Jacob was talking about, like these 4 horizontal panels of him just kicking the shit out of this dude. And there's another panel laid on top of it on the right where he picks the guy up by his lapels. He's like, now punk, talk fast. Who pays you to pull this little prank? Collegian, the shipper. Yeah, she heard it all. He's the guy who was putting the squeeze on that airline. But his choices here, that porthole of the guy turning his head and whipping his head around, and there's the street light just on him, just the yellow before, and you can see the fist of the Scorpion coming up. And just, I mean, all of his choices are like better than the last. It just keeps getting better visually, to me.
Yeah.
Me too.
Him, Simonson, and Miller, I think, Miller especially, I think it's one of his great assets is the pacing, like when to draw out a moment, when to compress it, and the way they all did sort of choreography.
I thought about Miller a lot when I read this. Like they share a lot of sensibilities. It's gorgeous.
Okay, so yeah, next page. So all right, so now we find ourselves in kind of a plush Manhattan office of the shipper when the 2 pilots kind of stagger in, telling him what went down with the Scorpion. And Collegian says he'll pay the pair to leave town because once they figure out that it's the Scorpion, he's just like, oh, well, that tears it, I don't play in the Scorpions League. Then they're like, well, you don't get it, we want to finish this job, and the Scorpion as well. We wasted this valuable piece of hardware. And he's like, no, I'll not hear another word. You'll be paid more than enough to cover your machines. And they're like, and then, he's reaching into the drawer to he's got a gun hidden in there. And then he's like, yeah, now where's my checkbook? And then we get a blam, blam. And so they beat him to it. And they're like, what a jerk. Think you can handle the safe? And the other guy's like, no problem. So one of the 2 warring rich guys dead, shipping magnate dead.
One of the oppressed.
One of the oppressed. So he's. I love. I don't know. Yeah, even something simple as this. Like, this is just a very yeah, a very simple setting, very simple actions happening. But again, the layouts and the way that, I don't know, I noticed his perspectives on this too. Like just coming from all sorts of different angles. Every single panel is coming from a really cool different angle.
Yeah. Did you think it was weird to me on here? I feel like this got flipped in like production, and the like where he says, "Here we are. Now where's my checkbook?" Shouldn't that be reversed? Like the balloons should be or backwards. He should be like in his desk. Now where's my checkbook so I can pay you guys and you leave? Oh, here we are. And the gun comes out, but he doesn't. He gets beat to the. Am I crazy? That's like out of
No, I
sequence.
mean I can see it that way. This way makes sense to me too, but that way makes sense as well.
Yeah, it's almost like the reveal to the audience while he's keeping up the illusion to the characters, you know.
Yeah.
But the other way would also be like more of a would work as well. I don't know. Could be.
Yeah. And that first panel, that really long one on the left, that is just insane.
Yeah,
it's like
right.
Toth Mazzucchelli kind of, I don't know what it is, but it's just, I just lingered on that with the shadow cast on the floor and then looking up at all those blacks. Oh, man. Okay. So they've killed him. Move on to the next page. They're asking about the safe. And here we get another one. Before, Brad, we were talking, gooning on how, like, we had a view, like, looking out from the instrument panel at the pilot right before he gets blown up.
What were we doing?
Glazing.
Let's try. We were gooning.
Did I say that? I didn't. That's not what I meant.
No, we were not. All right.
No, we weren't. Sorry.
I know you've got youngins, but take that internet capture out of your mouth. My God.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
I was waxing poetic.
Yes.
About
we were
how amazing
fawning.
it was.
We were.
Yes, fawning. Ooh, that's great. Chaykin chose to look out of an instrument panel up at a pilot's face with the light from the panels. That was so cool. And here we get another one of those where we're inside the safe as they crack it open. It says, "Oh, look at this. Blueprints for a carrier with a cover letter from the War Department." I love how all these, like, all the shadow stories and stuff like that from the 30s, it's all just about like government contracts and stuff like that. That's like, Lucas was like probably reading these like, I bet kids like to hear about tariffs when I do my next Star Wars movie.
Yeah, but it's always blueprints. I mean, the fifth column are always after blueprints.
Yeah,
sometimes they hide them in paintings, like in the fourth Thin Man movie. It's all over the place.
Yeah. So they realize, hey, I got a friend in the German consulate who pay a fortune. He says, "Shh, someone's coming." And they look out the window. They see the scorpion's coming. Like, let's kill him now. He's like, no, I got a better idea. Let's escape out on the roof. Then we'll finish the scorpion and the job to boot. So yeah, they had a chance to shoot the scorpion dead from the window, like snipe him essentially, and they chose not to. They said, no. Let's do this. Let's do this a little more theatrically, which let's see how that works out for them. But yeah, so moments later in that West Side brownstone, I'm assuming that's what the address was that we heard earlier where the check's supposed to go. The phone rings and then she says, "Don't bother getting up, Fritz." She says, "I'll get it." And she comes out covering herself up from the bath, I guess. It says, "Frost Residence, Miss Bishop speaking." "Oh, hello, Mr. Boyle." "No, he's not." "Are you certain it can't wait? I was just stepping into a bath."
See, now I'm gooning.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. It's the proper time too, that's for sure.
I just want Brad to be happy.
Yeah.
That's all I've ever wanted.
That's all I've ever wanted. All right. Yeah. So,
Pretty Lady, though.
I got to move to the next, panel of the Pretty Lady because it's amazing.
Yeah.
And so on this phone call,
totally naturalistic pose.
100% naturalistic. That's what you do when you're about to step into a bath. You get a call. You just kind of collapse on the chaise longue, and that's what you look like. So, yeah,
Rules. Love it. Way to go, Chaykin.
So yeah, he says he needs help. She's like, "Oh, I wish you'd tell." "All right, I'll be downstairs in 15 minutes." Then we see that that Bishop actually is, or no, that Boyle is, the guys have him or pointing some guns at him. And so we see that next she goes down to meet him. It's like, "All right, Boyle, what's the problem? Who are your friends?" And he's like, and she's like, "Well," and then the The guys say, what Mr. Boyle's trying to say is if you don't behave, he'll have a big nothing where his head used to be. And it's like, now, Miss Bishop, you'll kindly get into our car. We can get this little show on the road. So, yeah, so now they have Miss Bishop, they got Boyle, and they're laying the trap for the Scorpion.
It's all coming together.
That is. I love the in that panel that one with Boyle, all kind of like cast in purples. I love the expression on his face there. It's so good.
Yeah, I love the color palettes too. Like Brad was saying, the colors are consistently exciting to this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that you could hang almost any page of this, any panel of this on your wall, but when you add it all together, it will put you to sleep. I just can't believe it.
Saddle, I don't want to. I'll save our disagreements till the end, but I don't know. It's not boring me yet. I'm just gonna say I don't find it the most boring thing. I'm pretty engaged.
You guys have just been reading too many Creature Commandos, okay?
Yeah. Okay. I mean that's a fair thing to say because maybe our brains were turned to mush last season.
Might have been.
It might have been. I'm not saying you're wrong.
All right. Here's another page. Just hang here on the layout for a minute because, God, it's just pure class from this guy visually. Yeah. So phone call comes in. It's Fritz. He says, Frost residents, Frost and Bishop are. Oh, hello, Mr. Frost. Yeah, yes, she left about 15 minutes ago. She went to the airfield with Boyle. Good night. And he's like, what the hell could come up so soon? I spoke to Boyle just an hour ago. And then he dashes onto his motorcycle. We get some nice vroom, vroom as he's taking off to go chase after her. Beautiful shot perspective of over the handlebars looking at him. Scorpion roars through the city streets, downtown, across the Brooklyn Bridge, through the wilds of Williamsburg. Williamsburg is very different nowadays.
Yeah, I love that panel of him. I love the giant vroom, vroom. I don't know. There's something, the cartoony nature of that. It made me laugh, but it's also pretty badass.
I love him running out of the phone booth too towards his bike. It's just like Brad said. Any panel from this, you could frame it and hang it, and I'd be happy with it.
Oh yeah.
Glenn says, I know they would say early Sienkiewicz copied Neil Adams, which he absolutely did, but Chaykin might have been an influence too.
That's fair.
For sure. Yeah. I think all those guys were bouncing off each other for sure. You know? I mean, didn't Chaykin live with Simonson and whatnot? And then like they were all like Sienkiewicz had something where he slept with somebody's girlfriend or
well, it was Wrightson, I think. So he lived with Wrightson and Simonson and Al Milgram.
And was it Wrightson's girlfriend who slept with Sienkiewicz or Sienkiewicz's girlfriend who slept with Wrightson? It was some crazy thing. So yeah, I think they're all bouncing off each other.
Yeah, definitely.
Figuratively.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the next page.
I'd be so pissed if Sienkiewicz slept with my girlfriend.
Yeah.
That would just be.
Him in particular? Is there a reason?
No, it just I feel like I just wouldn't be able to handle it.
Simonson okay? Chaykin okay?
Yeah, Chaykin's okay, but Sienkiewicz isn't.
Yeah, I guess maybe Simonson, I might see it coming. He's a robust man and stuff. Like, I feel like Sienkiewicz with this like puzzle art that he's doing up in there. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love Sienkiewicz, by the way. No shade.
I just be mad if it was Neil Adams. Like,
see, I would be mad if it was Neil Adams. Yeah,
see, I would see that coming because you just like Neil Adams. You just know is Neil Adams, right? That's what I mean. Like Sienkiewicz just has this sort of like personality that you just kind of feel like surely this man isn't gonna. But I can't remember. I'm getting the story possibly completely distorted and mixed up. I know there was something happened to some degree that was pretty salacious, and I think it involved Sienkiewicz. So, take that for what you will. Internet, folks, you can find out.
Yeah. The fact that you said I'm not 100% sure about this covers your ass, so you're good.
Exactly. All right, so on this
Stay
page,
away from my wife, Bill.
That's the real takeaway here. Stay away from all of our wives, Bill.
In summation.
Yeah. All right, so Morrow arrives at the airfield. He goes into the main hangar and is blinded by some Klieg lights, and he sees Ruby tied to the prop of a plane engine. And so they were talking like I don't know. Someone was saying in the issue is just like, oh yeah, there were all this different stuff, this salacious stuff, and Atlas, and there's some bondage in the Scorpion. And I was like, I guess.
Yeah.
If a woman tied up means bondage, yes, but that seems like it's pushing the definition.
Yeah. I think the airplane engine is the more fetishistic element.
Yeah.
Here,
yeah.
Yes.
But sure, it's pretty tame, I would say.
Yeah, for the most part. Well, that's the thing, Atlas was trying to be
up to,
Oh yeah, I mean, Chaykin. Yeah, this is light Chaykin here for sure. But yeah, I gotta say the takeaway for this is I loved the profile shot of the Scorpion there.
Pure Chaykin.
Yeah, that is pure Chaykin, absolutely. But then I also liked kind of it didn't work for me at first. Kind of him all cast in blue at kind of this strange angle. Like this was the one that I was just at first. I didn't quite parse it as something that I liked or understood, but taken in the context of the whole page, I think it made sense. What did you think of this second half of the page, guys?
I like the weight distribution on him
Mm-hmm.
pointing the gun and stuff like that. Real dynamic, real cool stuff. I really like. He's got that thing that Mazzucchelli has, where people's like footwork and stances is like, it looks naturalistic to some degree. Like but it's comic booky, and you can feel where weight is being like what foot he's got his weight on, and it's cool stuff. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's like a magic trick, right? I mean, it's like you're saying, it's cartooning and it's stylized, but there's a weight and a gravity to the way characters stand and move and stuff like this, and it's totally present here. I love it.
Yeah.
And I love that the cover actually wasn't a ripoff. This is actually the scene from the cover.
I know, right?
Just reversed.
Yeah, it's a cool image. I like it.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on here. So she's tied up, and there's obviously a threat because if they turn the motor to the rotor on, then she's going to whip around and have her arms torn off and be dead. So the main punk guy says, real slow now. Drop your gun and belt and kick them behind you. And so he says, if you look to my right, you'll see my friend George. George is a real whiz when it comes to machinery and such. Now he's setting a timer on the engine. So yeah, there's a timer going on, tick, 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 tick. And once the timer goes off, the rotor's going to start going and she's in trouble. We won't say how long it's got to go, Scorpion, but when the ticking stops, your little friend here won't know which end is up. And
Yeah,
so,
I like that. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Brad.
Oh, just the otter pop layout right here.
Yeah,
Right.
totally. I love that description.
That's what we're going to call this from now on.
Yep.
But I like that talking about the color where he divides it with dropping out the backgrounds with blue and then a pop of orange and then back to the actual background and a blue, and it just keeps it real clean, real easy to follow. Yeah. Just
and
cool.
just makes it all exciting, which is good because the scene is meant to be exciting. And the guy says, just to show you what good sports we are, I'm going to throw my gun away too. So he wants to make this a fair thing. He says, it's been empty since we croaked Calagian anyway. So we've been running around with empty guns. Just do whatever. And he says, all right, so we'll just take care of, we just have to take care of you, messy-like. So he wants to get up close and personal with him. And the Scorpion smiles. And look at this last panel on this page. Good Lord in heaven. With a spattering of ink in the background to kind of show like the haziness of the background in the distance outside of the hangar. Oh man, and just the detail in the motor of the rotor.
Mm-hmm.
God damn.
I know the angle there is what kills me.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, we're down to the last couple pages here. So then I love this. So I thought this sequence of panels here is badass. And I love the narration that he does here too. It is cold and mirthless, a death's head grin. He rolls his vest tight and attacks. For though the vest is made of soft deerskin, it is lined with chainmail. Because before the chainmail reveal, I was kind of just like, what is he doing? I was just like, I don't know. That doesn't seem very cool. Then I'm like, oh, okay. But then, goddamn, that panel of him hitting the guy, his face, the guy's face is kind of blasting towards us. And that shot of red, fuck. So awesome.
So good.
Yeah. And then he said, that the timer ringing loudly in the cavernous hangar ticks faster and faster but in those two panels I love. So he's getting the guy again, whacks him again, gets him and then behind you, killer. So he's getting the other guy. He's getting the guy with the axe. So I loved that. I love that final panel of him getting in the tall vertical one.
Yeah, amazing stuff. The chainmail was a fun touch, right? Like this has all been relatively grounded, except for the sonic weapon. But just this idea of like he piece of normal clothing he has is also like some Captain America kind of gear.
I was just gonna say, like his gloves and boots and these like Buccaneer gloves and boots and chainmail. It's kind of Captain America,
yeah,
definitely,
and everything, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So my one kind of dodgy art thing is the way he draws Scorpion here in this first panel. In the instant the ticking stops and he whips his head around, he looks like he's 75 years old. I don't like that.
Yeah, it was a weird choice.
Also, isn't that a Neil Adams Batman cover? Like that exact pose on the next panel over?
Oh.
Like a famous one?
That's a Neil Adams. It's a Batman. It's a Joker story when he's running on the beach. I know exactly the fucking panel you're talking about.
Yeah, it brought that right to mind, and it looks a little bit like a swipe. I could be wrong, but
it is a bit of a swipe. That's a good call.
I think it's a swipe. Yeah, it's from when like Joker was stealing the Picasso painting. God, I can't remember the name of it. It's always collected when there's a Joker.
It's super
collection.
Famous. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I can't remember the name of it either.
Yeah. So the ticking stops. So he whips his head around. He hurls himself with the coughing engine as the older saboteur staggers out the door, thinking this guy's indestructible. And he grabs some wires out of the motor and pulls them off. Says only one thing to do: bomb the airfield. As the guy's like limping off, getting in the plane. So he's just gonna carpet bomb everything. Just get the Scorpion, make sure he's got him good.
Yeah.
He's like, I'd like to see him stop me with every other engine on the field wrecked beyond repair. So, the Scorpion's attention obviously is riveted on Ruby. He hears the abrupt snarl of a plane. He looks up to see George groggily escaping. So now both of the guys that he was fighting have escaped. And he's like, the guy's like running after his buddy in the plane. Great going, Charlie. I'll pace you. So he still believes there's some kind of honor among thieves or something like that. And he's like, yeah, that's right. I'll just run up and run the same pace you are and just jump into the plane and we'll escape together because we're best friends.
That's going to be fine, right? That's going to work out.
Mm-hmm. But we get that nice double panel there where he splits it with a gutter.
It's fucking
George
awesome.
Is climbing in the plane. I love that. I'm always a sucker for that. The silhouette in the panel after that. Then the plane wings breaking that last panel at the bottom. That beautiful sunset. God.
Yeah, I don't think, both of us looked at GCD. I don't remember a colorist. I don't think a colorist has really been credited on any of these, even in GCD. We get there's a lettering colorist, lettering credit, which is the woman who Chaykin had things to say about. I think in that article they're like, oh yeah, what about the letterer? And she was like, oh, she was good. She was a hottie. Yeah. Yeah. But,
before we move on, Mark wanted to know, did he ink his own work? He generally Chaykin inked his own stuff, right?
Well, definitely on this issue. On issue two, issue 2 is a whole different story that we'll mention a little bit about. But yeah, Chaykin always inked his own work.
Was he a Krusty Bunkers guy?
Krusty Bunkers definitely helped. I think he was, because he's continuity, right? He's associated with Adams.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Or Sunrise. So, maybe Jackson said maybe it's Sunrise. I can't remember if it's Sunrise or not.
Okay, next page. So yeah, I also love the narration on this. You know, I mean, Chaykin's writing is a little spotty in this, but some of the narration on some of these pages I really, really liked. This one, there's no time for thought, for planning, only for action by instinct. To do what must be done now. And so he gets on the bike, takes off, and yeah, like you said, he is the honor among thieves things happens here. He's like, "Attaboy, Charlie, get that door open, buddy." And Charlie's like, "Sorry, George, coming through." And I love that Charlie's like, hey, slow down a little bit. Like I can't get aboard. Hey, stop. And then we get that great little like horizontal panel in red. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Oh, that's fucking great. And then it ends the final panel again. It's just such a badass. He likes that angle. I think I've seen him favor that angle on quite a few of the panels. It really works with his art style. Of the Scorpion, just hauling ass, trying to catch the plane.
It's exciting.
It is. Yeah, it definitely is.
Not quite the word I would use.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, a guy got chopped up by a plane rotor.
Come on, Brad. That's pretty exciting.
That did happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark says that the Scorpion looks like Robert Culp. I can totally see that.
Oh, in that first panel? Oh shit, yeah. He totally does.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right there. 100%. Robert Culp. All the way.
100%. All right. So we got set up here for an exciting incident. As he's chasing that turn after these guys, he's 10 feet behind the plane when directly in his path, fortunately, an automobile. He increases his speed. I love that close-up of him with his huge jaw set and grim determination. He tightens his grip, bends low over the bars, and pulls back, kapong, off the back of this huge boat car. The craft rises gracefully into the air, but he's not going to catch him, right? He just wants to get close enough to get a good aim. Pulls his pistol out with one hand on the handlebar. Blam, 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 blam. Pock, 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 pock. The plane rises slowly, trailing greasy black smoke. I think we all see where this is going. Until with a short cough, right? So,
which is great.
Love it.
Again, this page, of course, is badass. But that panel of him coming towards us on the bike,
so good.
Oh man, if I could just pull, I don't know. That was weirdly enough, that was one of my favorite panels in the whole issue. I don't know. I just think it's simple and direct and perfect, and he's coming right fucking towards you at the slight angle. Yeah, it's perfection.
I agree.
All right, well, we know what's happening. So on the next page, we get a Vatum. Great. Plane explodes. Then we go down to see Morrow. He's crashed his bike, but Ruby comes up. Morrow, you're all right. He's like, fine. Then Boyle's there. He's like, hello, Boyle. Things should settle down around here now. He's like, I can't thank you enough. He's like, well, just wait till you get my bill. He's like, do you mind if we borrow the car? The cycle is in no shape for travel. The boy's like, by all means. And then we end on a bit of a joke. He's like, Rube, it's mornings like these when I really start feeling my age. So, yeah. Didn't we have that happen? That happened with the Plug story, right? With to where at the end, and it ends with like this goofy little joke after like a super noir story.
Right. Like the freeze frame and the credits roll.
Yeah, freeze frame's like, something that was a little more heart to heart.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That does end with a cutesy joke. You're right.
And and that's the end.
That is the end. So we're gonna do our shout outs before we do final thoughts, Brad. We're kind of shaking things up a little bit here. So many of the show's listeners support the podcast by becoming Patreon members. There are several tiers of support to fit every budget, but the most popular one is Pack Member. That's $5 a month, and they get the weekly bonus show in audio and video format and special gated content that the other tiers below that don't get. And they also get shout out credits in the bonus show and verbal shout outs in the main show like this. And those Pack members are fine folks like Ben Potter,
Blake, last name withheld,
our friend here, esteemed guest Brad Elmore,
Brian Steed,
Brian for Marvel by the Month,
Caleb,
Dave Kennedy,
David D,
David Goodwin,
Glenn Lash,
Grace,
Greg Rowland,
James Shigas,
Jared from Swords and Scrolls podcast,
Jason W,
Jeff Fitzpatrick,
Jerry from Buffalo,
Justin the Owl,
Kyle from the Heartland.
Our favorite, Letty.
Letty.
We have no favorites, but we do love Letty.
We do kind of love Letty more.
Matt Harvey.
Michelle from Moonlit Comics.
Pat Sveck.
Rob from Marvel by the Month.
Russ from Tomes of Evil.
Sha David.
Tony Iupi.
Tim Tucker.
And Worm Drive Pro.
Yeah, thanks to all the pack members. Brad, you had to, it's funny. You were our first guest. Let's just say Taboo doesn't count. Let's say you overshadow Taboo, actually.
Yeah, definitely.
And then you were our first review too. And probably one of the first pack members.
I think so.
Trailblazer all around.
Yep.
But there is one more tier to the Patreon that we have. That is the Star Gods. We call them the Celestial Barbarian Deities. So folks at this tier gets more gated content. After 6 months, they get to choose a shirt or a travel cup or whatever from our Threadless shop. And those are the finest of folks like B.A.M.
And Bill Eschbach.
Brink.
Eric Hadley.
Jason Finestone. Good to see you tonight, Jason.
Yes. Jesse McFerrin.
John Walsh.
John Walsh. Don't forget to take John Walsh's survey about comic binding later, by the way. That's running out soon. Josh Link.
MJ.
Mark Nivens. Thanks for being here, Mark. We appreciate you, brother.
Melissa Watts.
Michael Giacchino.
Ryan from Across the Bifrost.
And Uber patron of All Saints, Jackson T. Overstreet. Thanks for being here tonight, Jackson. Appreciate you, brother.
Can't believe that's your real name.
Really? I know, right? Cool. It's so cool.
It's too fucking cool.
Yeah. I remember the first person to release, a lot of people said it, but I think it was Michael Giacchino when he first was on. He's like, I want to read Jackson's name.
Yes.
It was awesome.
Everyone says that that's the best name.
Yep.
And so I go with what people say because I don't have any thoughts of my own.
That's right.
As I mentioned, John Walsh, he's doing some studies academically of comics, the medium that we all love and talk about here on the show. And he wants to know about people who bind comics. He wants to know about your habits and the way that you go about the hobby. So there's a link below to, I believe, to take John Walsh's survey. I asked him, he said it's open through June. So if you do that, please give him that data. It would really help him to do some studies about the hobby, which I care passionately about. So there was a letters column. And Jacob, I forgot. We've been switching off. Last time on Savage Combat Tales, there were only glowing reviews. So we both read a happy one. I like to switch good cop and bad cop with you. Do you want to be good cop or bad cop this time?
I think I should be bad cop this time.
I think you should too. So okay. I think I read the first letter, okay?
Okay.
So the Scorpion's Lair was the letters column and existed for one issue. Okay, dear Rovan and all, superb, magnificent. I've just finished reading The Scorpion and I find myself writing my first letter to a comic company. The Scorpion is exactly what I've been looking for. I can't wait for issue number 2. It is easily the best thing to come out of the new House of Ideas. Your other comics have been pretty good, but The Scorpion clinched it all. You painted a convincing portrait of a ruthless hero. It was a real mystery thriller. The art was good too. Now I'm looking forward to giving each and every Atlas title a chance to prove itself to me. In other words, with the kind of work that you pros are producing and with the shrinking size of my inflation-stricken allowance, there won't be many dineros left for the competitors. A few more superb issues, and what the competition is doing won't matter anyway. I'd like to proclaim that I'm an Atlas man from the very beginning, as long as you keep up the high quality of your first issues, and may the god of comics bless each Atlas magazine with a life of at least 200 issues. Ryan Flewellen, Kansas City, Missouri. And then Jeff, I'm assuming, said, or no, not Jeff, this would be Larry at this point.
Yep.
Now there's a man with the right idea. Welcome aboard, Atlas Man. Not a bad name for a new superhero.
Ah, Larry.
Big fan.
Big fan.
What year was the publication date on this?
75.
75.
I did not know they had Chat GPT back then.
It was a room full of
Chaykin's
tape.
Mom write this?
Yeah.
It really feels like he's hitting the bullet points of, this is some kayfabe right here.
How do I get published?
Yeah, no,
Right.
I think marketing
I think
requested this.
Yeah.
Well, Brad, a couple issues ago, I episodes ago, somebody said they had to drive like 600 miles to find all of the first issues. Like their distribution was so bad, they drove all over like the Southwest. But it was worth it.
Was it though?
Because you can't get your hands on those first issues nowadays for love or money.
Yeah.
I've got this off the Internet Archive, and that was too far to travel.
Yeah. You had to drive way too far for that one.
Yeah.
Okay, well, all right, bad cop time. Okay, Dear Scorpion. Well, Atlas, you've produced your first catastrophe. That's spelled F-A-I-L-U-E-R-E. I enjoyed your black and white magazines,
Jesus.
Macabre and Devilina, and your color mags, The Brute, Phoenix, and Planet of Vampires were all super. But the man of many ages, the Scorpion, is a loser. It's too contrived. The writer did not take the trouble to tell us where, how, and why. His character's only motivation is money. But what about those past lives? In what way do they improve this story? Veiling a character with a mysterious origin is no way to get around characterization. The storyline was good, as was the artwork, but just about any jerk with a bag over his head could have gone through the same activity as the Scorpion. So please, give us some meat on your character's bones. I'm sorry if I'm being too critical, but I've been a fan for almost 30 years. That's since 1945. And it kills me when a potentially unbelievable, in a good sense, character comes along and is wasted. Warren Cherniowski, Charlotte, North Carolina. This is what Larry has to say. A little reply says, "We apologize as the Scorpion was not up to snuff. We'll spend more time developing the man into a definite personality, something you can sink your teeth into. What with Jim Craig and Gabe Levy behind it, things can only go up. We thank you for your valid criticism." Ooh,
Just wait until he's fighting that golem.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, Warren, my dear pal, wherever you are, you fucking nailed it.
Yeah.
You fucking nailed it. He's absolutely right. It's a series of gestures and stacked together in the action genre that, in theory, are all exciting, but they forgot to make anything dramatic.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't really know anything or why. It's like he's mysterious. That the way he said the veiling the character with a mysterious background. Is like that isn't a shortcut. You need to, through dialogue and action, make us understand. I get it. It's like the comic's moving. You don't want to sit down and have exposition, but you gotta have through these actions some sort of characterization happening to some degree. And it's not just like, I mean, even early Marvel had that figured out pretty well, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I that's fair. But my take on it is, I feel like we're being dropped in media res into this dude's long immortal life, and like,
of course, you get
we're
dropped
going to
in
be
media
given
res.
this stuff,
Sure,
like fed, like even potentially flashback to, you know,
yeah, but I'm just saying that like the man talks in cliches, everybody moves in cliches, everything moves in like
yes,
these forms of the adventure genre. It's like, you know, Fury Road has very little dialogue, and I'm not saying this has to be as good as Fury Road, but it's a good example of like you can have things start with a character just moving, and you can still understand them through little bits of information, and it just feels like a bunch of postures. And because I was wondering, like, what if Chuck Yeager was immortal super spy, should be right up my alley, and I was like, why am I so bored? And there's really not a lot to hang on to, you know. Even their relationship, it's just kind of like, it's there. The external, tangible detail is represented, but there's the architecture underneath that doesn't seem to be there. It just seems like he was so invested in just making this comic an action comic, he forgot to give it any beats of story or character or anything.
See, if this followed the pattern that we've seen from Atlas Comics previously, we've talked about the first of the ones we liked is that the first issue is dropped in media res. Then the second issue is the origin story, in a way. And yeah, we didn't have that with this one, which I think may have may have helped a little bit. But it does bring us to the rest of the story.
I think that's a totally valid criticism, Brad. I think you're like, if if you drop them in with all this mystery and we're just supposed to figure out as we go along, be fed bits of information, that's all well and good, but you have to tell a good story along the way. And this isn't the most exciting and engaging story. I think that's a totally fair take on it. So the art, we're getting into final thoughts here. So before we do final thoughts, let's talk about the rest of the story. So by issue 3, as you can see here on screen, he had been completely rewritten, moved to the modern times, and made into a Spider-Man meets Captain America type of thing. Yeah, so we had 2 more issues. I love the Ernie Colon cover of issue 2. However, that has nothing to do with the story that goes on inside. So at this point, I think Chaykin was having, maybe Jacob knows, you kind of hinted at the beginning you knew. I've forgotten what the conflict was, but I know he left because of creative differences, but he had some people come on with this issue and he was gone by 3. But issue 2 is this voodoo story. As you can tell, there's some gorgeous art in here. He didn't ink himself. He penciled this story and had several people ink it.
Yeah, it was all of his roommates. You got Wrightson, Simonson, Milgram. And he says, Bernie Wrightson talked about Scorpion issue 2. He says, yeah, we were living in the same building as Simonson and Milgram. We're sharing a place. Howard was down the hall. My memory is that Howard and I went to this party at some friends of Howard's out in Queens. We might have gotten a ride out there. So basically, he's just saying, like, we lost our ride. These hot girls were leaving the party. They give us a lift. We went back to the apartment. Howard had a good time. I like that Bernie's like, yeah, Howard had a great time. Howard just disappeared with this girl. And Bernie Wrightson's like, I don't remember that I did, though. And Chaykin says the same thing, but he's Chaykin. He's like, it was a white late model Cadillac pulls up. And it's awesome. He's like 2 women in it. And so, yeah, he was talking about that him and Wrightson went back with these ladies. And then, got together with a bunch of guys and they all did the inking on the second one. And then there was this whole thing to where Jeff Roven talked about how he brought in Toth. He was just like, okay, I don't think Chaykin's working out. So he brought Toth in. It was just like, okay, we're going to totally redo this. So why don't you work on this? And Chaykin went into to Roven's office and saw that he was fucking doing this, that Toth was taking it over. And so that's when Chaykin was just like, yeah, I'm out of here.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, it is fair. So issue 2, is this voodoo story that I thought was pretty cool. I mean, I know you can definitely tell he's not inking himself, but I thought the art in issue 2 was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's still gorgeous layouts. So, I mean, even if it's not Chaykin inking himself, I'm completely happy with it. I thought it was fun. It's voodoo. It's very minimal voodoo. I mean, the voodoo stuff happens, but I feel like to like Brad's point, I feel like a lot of the times, a swashbuckling pulpish hero with voodoo in it, I should be 100% in it. It was just, everything kind of feels a little cold, a little like room temperature, a little tepid to me.
Yeah,
so,
it is.
It's almost like the defaulting to the 30 setting is more important to him than the telling a good story sometimes.
Yeah,
that's my main criticism of it.
Yeah, the second issue is, if you had problems with the first, Brad, the second issue, you would not dig it. Well, what you read, so I'm sure you didn't dig it.
Pretty much the same feeling I had about the first, where it's like I enjoy this art. It's also really interesting that the voodoo is so perfunctory. Because he's not interested even in that. He's interested in
not at all.
A reason to sort of animate somebody, and then we're moving right on.
Yeah.
It's like an afterthought or something.
It is strange though that this comic, which starts with him being sort of immortal, but he's then doing corporate espionage, and then there's voodoo in the next issue, and then there's the resurrected the golem in the third. It's like this strange inclusion of supernatural elements, but you can tell he just really wants to do guns and cars.
He wants to do the Shadow, basically, just yet again, but there's a little couched in voodoo and stuff. I have to stop you guys. So James Edward Clark is in the chat, by the way.
I just wanted to point that out. James Edward Clark is here. Hey, James. We commissioned him to do the Man-Wolf Werewolf by Night art that we gave away as a thing to all of our Patreon supporters. And he's a super talented artist who did this really cool book called Tales to Enlighten, which I highly recommend you folks check out. Love it. It is psychedelic and cool and strange. Give him a follow, do whatever. He's awesome.
Yeah, and his art opens up these YouTube episodes too. So
That's correct.
Beautiful stuff.
Yeah, I love it. So that second issue was that, and then we jump into issue 3, and this is the complete. They've said to hell with it. Let's bring him to 1975. He now is called David Harper. He publishes a newspaper. I mean, they just said, like you said, Chat GPT earlier. Like this is just like Chat GPT of a Marvel. Like just feed every Marvel comic in here and just like I want Marvel. So now he has like this stupid David Cassidy haircut. He's a reporter. He's essentially Spider-Man, but
left turn.
But he's fought the Nazis before, so he's kind of Captain America. Just like he mixes up with this guy called the Golden Fuhrer,
who's just Doctor Doom and the Red Skull mashed together. This is the thing. Like literally those two designs just like the worst way you could mash them together. You think in theory, like, wow, you could probably make a pretty imposing. Nope. It's the bizarre. It is. When I got to this issue, I was like, I knew Chaykin, but I figured I figured it would be maybe have less of an identity than Chaykin, but I had no idea they were just going to be like, we are making nondescript superhero comic. And yet I gotta be honest, the art is not as good. It is rote stuff. This was so wacky. I actually ended up enjoying this more because they do have a rabbi resurrect or bring a golem to life, which is crazy. Like, you would not first issue of this comic and think it's ever going to end up with Doctor Doom, Red Skull
mashup,
making a rabbi or a Jewish mystic bring this golem to life. It's fantastic. Just so bizarre. Not great, but at least it made me laugh.
Well, a lot of the third issues of Atlas Comics make us laugh because they're complete left turns that are fucking ridiculous. You can't take them seriously. So there's a lot of laughs in third issues.
Yeah. So Jackson was wondering, like, did they even have sales numbers on these issues? No, Jackson. As far as we can tell, they didn't have any figures on anything before they made these huge changes. We believe it was Martin Goodman just saying, what the fuck are you doing? I told you I want Marvel books.
Okay, and the funny thing is, in that article and other places, Rovan and Chaykin both talk about in the CBA issue that Goodman had a particular hatred for this book.
That's right.
Which I was just like, why? Like, why would you hate this? And not, I don't know. But Goodman really he just had an axe to grind with the Scorpion, which I think is strange.
Well, I mean, in the mid-'70s, I'm sure the 1938 swashbuckling hero felt like couldn't be more irrelevant. So I just don't think he liked Chaykin's art. I think Chaykin's art was too modern. Oh,
and Goodman didn't understand it. Goodman's like, what the fuck is this scratchy shit? Like, this isn't Ditko. What the fuck?
Yeah, scratchy shit with Nick and Nora Charles, like swashbuckling is probably just it was just like, what am I paying you for? Yeah.
Yeah, and this is still the 70s, and so it's like we're a ways out from getting like sort of that reduced Miller style or getting into like again Sienkiewicz or anything like that. Which Shooter at the time when he would have kicked those books right out if they weren't selling hot, because he even was like, "What the hell are you guys doing?" And so this is like a toe in that water. It looks like of like looking ahead at what comics are. But I think Matt actually had a really good point, which he probably looked at this and is like, the 30s guys, we need kung fu and exploitation and acid heads and whatnot. You know, like what's on the it's that thinking. I think you're right, because the Scorpion is very like two-fisted pulp adventure, Doc Savage-y shadow world.
Yeah. I didn't include this last panel here, by the way. as the Scorpion's swinging away like Spider-Man
Spider-Man.
after literally climbing out of a dumpster full of like human waste and rescuing the rabbi and his daughter. But he's fought Nazis, and he says, I can't get those Nazis out of my head. It's ridiculous. This in 1975. How has their hatred survived? Well, Scorpion, if you're immortal, you're still alive today, and I'm sure you're really fucking confused by 2025.
Guess what? It did survive. It's right here.
Anyway,
He's just
so
sitting on the internet shit posting.
Yeah.
He's lived for 3,000 years. And he's just got some dopey username.
yeah.
He's just, yeah. I don't know. It's that I screenshotted the last panel of this comic because I thought it was so funny.
It's amazing.
Crazy. It's crazy. Like, yeah, he's just Spider-Maning, and they give you no bridge to that. They don't even give a thing where it's like the last time you saw Scorpion, but now he's just doing this. It's like, nope. He might as well be a completely different character.
Yeah.
Yeah, and most of these books do this. I think Morlock 2001, like it just jumped to where it's like
the Midnight Man,
sci-fi horror thing, and I forgot which one it was, but one of them's just like now he's like joined the cast of Hair, and they live underground and freedom fight or something. I can't remember what it was. Destructor, I think it was Destructor. That just kind of jumps randomly to a completely different cast, and it's weird. The Golden Fear is a combination of Trump and Elon Musk. Although maybe it should be the Orange Fear. That's
solid.
So so final thoughts. I mean, we've kind of been doing this since we started talking about the rest of the story. So it's we can just do that now. But I think Brad, you go first and share the guess. But I think we know where you stand.
Oh yeah, I think I always do this. But I think I said what I had to say. I love the art. So it's worth it for the art alone,
Yeah, 100%.
Out like me clowning on the fact, and Warren Zernowski or whatever clowning on the fact that it's a bunch of adventure comic tropes with no real substrate underneath it of dramatic architecture. If you're hesitant for that reason, don't be, because it just gliding through the art is a rewarding experience. And also, you should read the third issue, not for the art, just because it is funny. It is just funny. It is a bizarre comic book. Yeah.
I'll just chime in. So like I'm a huge fan of the Shadow, any era of the Shadow. The pulp stuff. I love the 30s stuff. I'm a complete sucker for it. So between Chaykin's art and this just being my milieu, my sweet spot, I liked it a lot more than you did. I understand that it is like I definitely was like feeling like there was something lacking in the story, and when you kind of shared your thoughts on it throughout, I'm like, okay, it's weaker than I gave it more credit than it deserves. It's pretty uninspired storytelling, but it's gorgeous, and so I liked it. And oddly, I'm with you. I love the third issue. It was so fucking weird. It's like this weird like Kirby Captain America mind bomb meets whatever. Like it's just such a fucking train wreck of just everything Marvel's doing in 1975 right now that I think it worked. So I liked it.
Yeah, agreed.
I can't believe that. I'm reading that going like, did Michael Mann read this comic? That movie,
Love it. Yeah. Matt, I mean, I'm with you in a lot of ways. Like, I feel like, there are some storytelling, deficits and deficiencies going on here, but for the most part, I don't know, the art and just the art makes up for everything in a lot of ways. I know it shouldn't. I know, of course, we should tell a good, nuanced, great story. But I don't think Chaykin was there yet as a writer. And I think this shows it. Like, I think that he became a really good writer. But he really hadn't written a whole lot of his stuff. Like, this is one of the very few first things that he wrote and conceived and drew and did everything on his own. And so I feel like we see some of those. Yeah, his training wheels are still on. He doesn't quite know how to do that. But as far as art goes, like there's nothing better. Like, this is some of the greatest art of his, I honestly think I've seen. Like, I felt so in love with it, and just everything about it. So just visually, this was as stunning of a book as we've seen this entire season. So that alone was just like, okay, well, I'm in.
You ever look at those Toth Black Canary comics? You ever see those?
I think I've seen some of them. Yeah, were they backups or were they whole title?
Yeah, appeared first. I looked at them ages ago. But that's what this reminds me of. Just really gorgeous. He's got a lot. He reminds me a lot of Toth and with like a bit of Steranko. Steranko's like more noir stuff that he gets up to. It's gorgeous. Yeah, it's gorgeous. And he's in his 20s here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Worth it for the art alone. Worth it for the art alone, for sure.
Yeah. Obviously early in his career, and a pretty striking work, if not storytelling wise, or at least story wise, at least art wise, it was damn. Like, I mean, I was just like seeing stuff like, okay, I see some Eisner, I see some Adams, I see some Plug, I see all this just innovative, just this vibrancy to his art and his layouts and his choices. You could tell he was just humming with creativity. So that's what I responded to more than anything else. But I'm also a guy that would read a comic about the Shadow filing his taxes. So again, it's kind of made for me. So I'm not super critical when it comes to that.
Shadow eventually. Am I crazy? Am I mixing that up again with Sienkiewicz?
Sienkiewicz did
with Denny O'Neil. That's the one with Sienkiewicz, right? Or no, that's the question. Never mind.
Yeah,
because Kaluta did the Shadow.
That was DC in the 70s. Then Sienkiewicz did his own 4-issue miniseries for DC in the mid 80s, and then it became like a Kyle Baker thing and got really fucking weird, where they brought him to the modern times and he had children and he had Uzis. I love it. It's so weird. Cool. So any final thoughts on that, or we moving on?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. All right. So next up in our journey, we are reading Tales of Evil. And Jacob, am I crazy, or is Russ Jones and Elder or whatever, aren't they the same person? Isn't that a pen name he uses?
Yes.
Elder,
I thought so. Yeah. So we'll find out.
So I think he writes both stories in this under 2 different names, and Grandinetti does the art for both of them. And this is our first horror outside of Devilina, our first like straight up horror 4-color. And I'm a huge Grandinetti fan. I don't know if he's for everybody, but I talk about him constantly. He comes up a lot, and I think Creepy, but tons of DC stuff as well, the horror anthologies. And I'm a huge fan of his stuff, so I'm super excited to see that. And I think that's just you and me, Jacob, on that one.
Great. Yeah, no, that I'm excited for that too.
But before that, if you are a Patreon member and you get the Shadow Show from us on our off weeks, we're going to have a free jazz episode, which is where we're not covering a particular Bronze Age comic in review. We're just talking about stuff. So, Jacob, you're going to be talking about...
Yeah, I'm going to be talking about just the library and all the programs that we have for summer reading program, and just talking about my library gig, which people seem to like. So I'm excited. I love talking about the library. It's my whole life now, and I love it.
I love it too. And I'm just going to do a brief little nice things.
Yeah,
just to share with something that I'm excited about.
Cool.
So before we take off tonight, we are on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. If you just go there and Bronze Age Monsters, you'll find us. We'd love to talk to you there. And if you do want to get the Shadow Show, you go to patreon.com/Bronze Age Monsters and support the show at one of those tiers that gets those. We would love to have your support there. But it really means a lot if you just like this video and leave a comment. That really super helps the algorithm bump it up to other people's eyes. And subscribe if you're not subscribed. That would be awesome. So, Brad, is there anything... So Jason just said, Finestone said, it's always great to hear Brad on the show. Thanks for a fun Wednesday night. Thank you for being here, Jason. We appreciate you. Yeah. Jackson says, good night, all. So Brad, is there anything that you could share with us that you're working on? Because we are huge fans of your films, and we're wondering if there's anything that's in the hopper for you that you can talk about.
Yeah, I'm editing a movie I shot. It's like a existential road movie. We're moving into... post sound and color right now. I'm excited for that. normally, like, it's interesting going from making a movie for a few $1,000,000 to going back to making a movie for nothing again. But it's just it's my curse. Must.
Yeah, but you did pretty well with that curse, my friend. Yeah, Wolfman's Hammer is something that we all truly love, and I feel really blessed and lucky that you share some of these little scenes and screen grabs on our Discord, and that's something that it's gotten everyone really excited because it looks beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's turned out really well. It's plotless, existential road movie. I mean, it's not like so plotless, but it's more about vibes. And for the first time, I'll be starring in something. The road movies usually have like licensed soundtrack, a cool car, and a movie star just to work. And I'm like, what if you made one with none of those things?
Well, you're the guy to do it.
Yeah. So, are you distributing this? Is this just going to YouTube just to share with the world, or what is your plan for it when it's done?
First,
okay.
And we'll see what happens with it. I mean, it's not because of the way it's done, and it's not really for sale. So I imagine it'll go to festivals and find somewhere for it to live. After that, we'll see wherever it ends up. It was. I'm proud of it, or I just liked making it. It was fun. And aside from that, I've got the book that I did that I'm going to be releasing as a series of podcasts, actually, that I recorded and will be. It's like nobody wants to buy anybody's fucking book, right? So you'll just be able to listen to it for free. I will read you my book for free.
That's pretty cool.
Be probably around fall, start releasing, and that's about that'll be pretty fun. It's called Nativity in Black, and so yeah.
Have you been talking about this on the Discord? I feel like this is new to me.
This is the first time I've heard of this.
I'm confused. Surprised, I guess.
It's sort of like a weird multimedia rollout thing that I've been working on. But yeah, no, it's I mentioned it in passing. I mean, it's just kind of a boring thing to talk about. Like, yep, writing a book, But yeah, it's
not to me.
No, that sounds awesome.
Then it'll be fun to release, and it's about a young girl in 1979 who strikes up a relationship with a burgeoning serial killer. But the sort of, it's kind of like Badlands, I guess you could say, but it all takes place in Southern California, Claremont, California. But I think the overview I had was I'm taking sort of the worldview of Black Sabbath music at face value, and the idea of the devil's hand being in everything, and almost like a Gnostic interpretation of the world in the 70s, with an existent sort of moral framing. And I guess it's just like I'm adapting the way Black Sabbath music made me feel when I was a teenager or a kid. I don't know how to explain it, but people like it. It's super weird, super good time.
I'm 100% in.
Yeah, that sounds
I can't
great.
wait. And I read the screenplay for the film you're finishing in post now, and I'm so excited for that. You say plotless road movie, I'm 100% fucking in. I know you and your sensibilities, so and just seeing the stills from it, I'm just like, I can't fucking wait. I wish I could have made music for it, but that's cool. I bet there's gonna be great music because music drives those movies, man.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So you said it's all about vibes, so I can't fucking wait.
We could talk. There might be room for you to drop something in still.
Okay.
Nice.
I'm mostly doing SoundCloud rapping now.
Oh,
that'll fit. That'll totally fit the vibe.
All about SoundCloud rap. That's me.
Yep. It's who I am. This is me now, Brad.
Yeah.
This is me now. Well, folks, if you haven't seen the Wolfman's Hammer yet, It's on YouTube, and I recommend it to everybody that I respect and think has good taste. I say you have to see The Wolfman's Hammer. That film, my wife's obsessed with it. We watch it all the time. It's fucking gorgeous, and I love that fucking movie. And I recommend it to anyone who likes an amazing small micro budget film. It's one of my favorite movies. So, and he made a beautiful vampire movie called Bid as well that people should check out. But The Wolfman's Hammer is like my fucking heart and soul. I love that movie. So
and
check it out.
Boogeyman
It's on
Pop.
YouTube. Yeah, but people can't see that one.
Someday.
If you find a way to reach out to me, I might know a guy who can.
I didn't want to say it.
There's a back alley that
Yeah.
you could go to.
Yeah, there might be a way.
Already
But,
compared Jason Blum to the bad guy in Gem and the Holograms.
You did. So the movie's coming out tomorrow then?
Yeah.
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 Who's calling?
Yeah.
Well, if you were on our Discord server, you might be able to talk to Brad about things like that. That's a place where that conversation could happen. It's a little offline. All right, Brad, we love you. Thank you so much for coming on the final season and helping us send us off into our Viking funeral.
Thank you, guys.
Flaming.
Yeah, this was great. It's exactly what we wanted. We wanted you to have on. You've been so important to us and to the show. So yeah, thanks so much. We love you.
Yes.
Yes, I am great. Yeah. No, I love you guys. Thank you.
All right. Everybody, thanks for checking us out. We appreciate you and your support. We love you, Brad. All right, folks. Until we see you next time, stay bronze, Pony Boy. Stay bronze. Now you have to wave.
Oh, sorry. I have to wave.
Brad, wave.
Wave, you magnificent bastard.